I was a hometown kid. I was a Player of the Year candidate.
Here comes the All-American. The nation's leading scorer at nearly 29 points per game.
The bigger the moment, the better he was.
Kid has been compared to Larry Bird.
I think I had 5 40-point games that season. I was really rolling offensively. My expectation was Final Four, to be honest.
In 2006, Adam Morrison was on the top of the college basketball world. Fast forward to 2009, and he was sitting at the end of the bench. What went wrong with the Gonzaga legend? Stick around to find out. Born in 1984, Adam Morrison grew up with basketball in his veins. His father was a coach, and it didn't take long for Adam to become part of the game. By the time he was a teenager, he was working as a ball boy for the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Little did anyone know, Adam was about to take the college basketball world by storm. But there was one major challenge from the start. Adam was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at a young age, a disease that would complicate not just his life, but his career. Imagine trying to play basketball at a high level, but constantly having to monitor your blood sugar and manage insulin injections on the sideline. That was Adam Morrison's reality. Despite the struggles, Morrison's determination was unparalleled. He would test his blood sugar and inject insulin in between plays, and while still lighting up the scoreboard. To top it off, he was playing through seizures in high school. Yes, seizures. And he still dropped 37. That's toughness at its pure form. After his high school career that saw his rise to national prominence, Morrison was ranked as the 26th best small forward in his class. But despite his impressive abilities, he was overlooked by many of the powerhouse programs. In fact, he wasn't even included in Dave Tellep's top 100 list. The result? Morrison ended up in Gonzaga, a place that turned out to be the perfect fit for him. This wasn't some underdog story though. It was a match made in heaven. Morrison wasn't the type of player to get noticed on highlights for his draw-dropping athleticism. He wasn't the fastest or the most explosive, but he had something special: skill, confidence, and a relentless work effort. He was a lot like Larry Bird in that sense. He didn't need to jump out of the gym to dominate. He just knew how to score in ways no one else could. Picture this: Morrison with his mustache and bowl cut, calmly sinking three-pointers from all over the court, while everyone else tried and failed to stop him. By his sophomore year, Morrison had already cemented his place as a standout at Gonzaga. But what made him so special wasn't just his scoring, it was his mentality. Upperclassmen in the program said that no one wanted to match up with Morrison during practice. His work ethic was contagious, and as he continued to improve, he moved into the starting lineup. In his junior year, Morrison truly became one of the most feared players in college basketball. It wasn't just the points he was putting up, it was how he did it. He was crafty with the ball, creating shots in a way that made defenses scramble. His slow footwork and lack of speed weren't liabilities. They were just part of his unique game. Morrison's junior season culminated in one of the most memorable college basketball campaigns in recent history. He became a scoring juggernaut, and it felt like every game was an event. His rivalry with JJ Redick from Duke became the talk of the country. Two elite scorers going head-to-head, each carrying their teams on their backs. The NCAA tournament that year was equally dramatic. Morrison's Gonzaga team made a deep run, but it all came crashing down in the Sweet 16. They were up by 15 points against UCLA, only to lose in a dramatic fashion due to turnovers and missed opportunities. Morrison had a standout performance in that game, scoring 24 points, but the loss left him in tears on the court, a moment that became iconic. After his emotional exit from the tournament, Morrison declared for the NBA draft. He was picked third overall by the Charlotte Bobcats in 2006. At the time, the Bobcats were a team with no clear direction. This wasn't the glamorous destination that other top picks were headed to, but it made Morrison's transition to the NBA even more difficult. Despite being drafted highly, Morrison's rookie year didn't live up to expectations. He averaged 11 points a game, but his shooting efficiency was concerning. He shot just 38% from the field. For a guy who made a living off scoring, that wasn't good enough. It wasn't just the shooting though. Morrison struggled defensively, which meant he couldn't contribute in the ways NBA teams needed him to. To make matters worse, Morrison's time with the Bobcats was also marred by off-court issues. He was the divisive figure in the locker room. Jared Dudley, one of his teammates, famously said Morrison was the most disgusting teammate he ever had, claiming he never showered, chewed tobacco, and only wore a handful of shirts during the entire season. This might sound like something from a bad sitcom, but it was real life, and it didn't help Morrison's cause in the league where professionalism matters. Imagine walking to a locker room where one of your teammates doesn't even take care of basic hygiene. That can create a division and make it harder for any player, especially a rookie, to find his place on the team. Morrison's lack of connection with his teammates made the situation even more difficult. To add insult to injury, Morrison tore his ACL in the preseason of his second year. Injuries like that derail careers, and for Morrison, this was the beginning of the end. He never fully recovered from that injury, and when he returned, the NBA had passed him by. The game was just too fast for Morrison, even before the injury. After his ACL tear, he was never the same. He lacked explosiveness, combined with the speed of the NBA, made it almost impossible for him to regain any momentum. He spent the rest of his career on the bench, playing a total of just 44 games in the NBA after his rookie year. Morrison did get a second chance with the Los Angeles Lakers in 2009, but it wasn't the redemption story he had hoped for. He was part of the 2 championship-winning teams, and he didn't play a single minute in the finals. It was a classic garbage time role. He got the rings, but didn't really contribute. It's like getting invited to a party, but never actually being part of the fun. He had 2 championship rings, but the journey wasn't anything like he envisioned. Adam Morrison's career is a reminder of the unpredictable nature of professional sports. He was a star in college, but the NBA just wasn't the right fit for him. He had talent, but the timing, the situation, and the league's evolution worked against him. It's easy to label him as a bust, but Morrison's story isn't that simple. He had moments of greatness, and his college legacy will always be remembered.